Hello, Adam Dorrell, CEO of CustomerGauge. Welcome to CG Live. How you doing today?
Oh man, it's great to be with you, Ian. Thanks for inviting me today.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad you could do this. This is episode 3 of the CG Live series. We're doing this every week on Thursdays, right around 10 to 11 o'clock, depending on how we get things in order. But glad to be doing this today with you.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I've actually had a really good week. I had a really interesting customer experience yesterday.
What do you got? Tell us.
Well, I went to is it a company that makes machines that makes bags like this, which is kind of like this is my souvenir, and really interesting company. I'm not going to tell you who they are. They've been around in business for 100 years, and they really care about the quality of their products. So they're a complete ISO 9000 company.
Yeah.
They really think about the tolerances of their machine, and they drive them to perfection to do the packaging for CPG companies. And that's of course really important because the stuff that they make, the machines to make the detergent pods and so on that end up to a consumer have to be really consistent every time. But what was really interesting is that their understanding of Net Promoter is also tied to employee experience as well, and recognizing also that when you talk with customers, it's the human relationship that really makes the difference. It's not just the quality of machines, Ian. It's like, how do we take care of you? How do we partner with you? And so I really enjoyed that discussion, and it's reminds me it's not just about the score; it's about how you use the feedback into building business relationships.
That's great. They're thinking about the employee experience, connecting that to the NPS. That's phenomenal. So, which I think is a fantastic segue into our first topic.
Okay, what is it?
All right, today is perhaps a age-old discussion, but we do see a good amount of potential customers or prospects coming to us asking, "Hey, I have this CSAT program. I have a 98% CSAT score, but yet my customers still churn every single month. What is going on? How can you help us?" And we have a pretty, I think, foundational stance on this. So let's just dive into it, Adam. So CSAT or CES or customer effort score, for those of you that don't know that. And then NPS, obviously Net Promoter Score. What's your hot take on this one today?
Who the hell cares?
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, are we still talking about this in 2025?
Oh, well, NPS died 10 to 15 years ago, I've heard, right? So like
They
NPS,
said, didn't Mark Twain say that? The reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. Yeah, this is a hot topic. Anybody that wants to grab a bit of, a bit of space on LinkedIn is saying CX is dead. Net Promoter is the most evil thing heaped on mankind. Have you seen that?
I have.
Nobody gives a what about this stuff. I'm not going to swear on here. It's like, no, of course it's not the most evil thing. But hey, by the way, hang on, let me just throw it back to you. I didn't watch that clip you sent me, but what was Seth Meyers saying the other night on TV? Then I'll get back to the topic.
I talked about that in episode 2, so that was really funny. So Seth Meyers went on this rant about how everything is performance-based now. Like, you drop off your dry cleaning, you get a survey about how the performance was at the drop-off. Like, you pick it up, you get a survey about how the performance was of the pickup service. You literally get McDonald's, you get surveyed on how the experience was. So it's just like this oversaturation of a measurement or performance culture. So a little bit around, I think he referenced how long surveys were and how cumbersome.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
This whole like rant that we had about, that is true to some extent, but you're also asking your customers to fill out a 30-minute survey on an experience they had checking out at McDonald's. Like, that's crazy. Like, it should take seconds, not minutes. And
but also the last time I looked at it, it's not mandatory. It's not the law to fill in a survey, is it?
No, it's not. Not yet, at least, right? Who knows what AI?
Which, by the way, is a whole other thing, because I spoke with a company recently whose business model revolves around doing research where they actually pay people to answer questions.
Oh yeah.
It is not. They do not check out whether somebody knows anything about the subject they're talking about, but to collect $5 or $10, someone will fill in a form for you.
Does that still work?
Don't know. It's not our business model, so I don't know anything about it. Okay. Let's get back to this thing. Man, I've got so much I could talk to you about this. By the way, too much, or are you okay with this level of energy?
Yeah, this is fantastic. So let's get into it. So, what are the origins of maybe like the CSAT and CES and NPS? Just walk us through. I mean, you've had so much experience in this space. Like, can you give us this little flavor on how these were created?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, Likert scales. That's the technical name for this. I actually don't know who Mr. Likert was, or might have been a Mrs. Likert for all I know. But Likert invented the scale, which has been used in surveying for more than 100 years. I mean, this is not new technology that people have been doing. They've been doing it on paper. The scale was sometimes numeric, sometimes with an alphabetical thing, sometimes just mark on this line.
Yeah.
From how good things are. In fact, I found a piece from an archive version of Time magazine from the 1930s where people were rating their excitement in a cinema by turning basically like a volume control, technical name, potentiometer.
Yeah.
100 of these across the theater. With these, they're all wired in series, and the voltage that comes out tracks the excitement at any time. And this was the AI of its day. It was recorded on a drum. And there's a really good article in Time from the 30s, which I'll have to dig out at some time. Nice. So people were doing this, and that's the scale. It's like, turning it out to the max. 11 would be really good. That's what I'd be giving the new Spinal Tap movie. There you go. Looking forward to it coming out. Yeah. So, it's the scale concept is as old as the hills. And that really evolved into the sort of the CSAT score, customer satisfaction. Only it wasn't really called CSAT, and it was never, as far as I know, to this day, it's never been officially codified as it's from 1 to 10. Although that's generally the way it's done. And then what comes out of it, also not really codified, but normally like an average score. Yes. Ian, I'm going to get back to averages in a second. Hold me to on that now.
Yeah.
So then next out of the blocks was the Net Promoter Score, really codified in about 2003. I was actually using it at the end of 2003, a few months after Fred's article came out on a Harvard Business Review. And he basically outlined it. His vision, which was like the one survey, the one question to rule them all.
Yeah.
Just you can forget all your other survey questions, because what would happen on a CSAT survey is you'd have like a dozen scales. Please rate the friendliness of the staff. Please rate the, this kind of stuff.
All done there. Absolutely. Yeah.
So he said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to say, based on the whole experience, would you recommend this X to a friend or a colleague?
Yeah.
There's something about recommendation which makes you internalize it. It makes you think about it. It makes you own the process and really think about it. At least that's the idea. Yeah. He also codified the scale 0 to 10, and he gave a way that you can calculate the scores, which is to take promoters, 9s and 10s, to potentially those to subtract the number of detractors, 0s to 6, and so on. So he gave everything there, and the name is trademarked, but the process and everything around it is open source. That's and right. I think to be honest, I think it's one of the greatest gifts to marketing and research ever, because, it just allowed a whole, certain amount of benchmarking and standardization to come out. And I love standardization. It's really good. And it just allows you to noodle into it. And I've been doing this for nearly 20 years. I'm still learning about this. And if I get a chance, I'll tell you about it at the end. And then CES is the Johnny come lately to the party. The customer effort score, it was, I forget who it was done. Ian, is it some management group or something? By Gartner later.
It was Corporate Executive Board, which is an older, I think, a company that was around in like the 2010 range that then got bought by Gartner at some point.
Yeah. By the way, I'm a detractor about that score. This is on my mug here. All right. By the way, I can use this mug in conversations to go like promoter or detractor subtly. So this I tend to think of this. Forgive me for being cynical, but it was a sort of, okay, NPS is an open source thing. How are we going to lose money? Said all the consultants. We better have something we can actually trademark and have as as our important thing. Nice idea. They say, okay, so it's the effort in making a transaction that's important. It's so reducing the friction is it's a pretty good concept, and they put it against the net promoter. They said, no, net promoter is all about, would you recommend it? Well, nobody cares about delighting people. It's all about reducing the friction. Not a bad idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
And actually it's the difference. Customer satisfaction was criticized by Fred as being too passive. So, there's kind of a build up on this, but this was proprietary. A couple of other things about it. We've incorporated CES into CustomerGauge, but it's not codified in the same way. It doesn't seem to be, it's official kind of score or, what's the outcome of it, still an average and so on. Not bad, not terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got these three metrics. Okay, now my take in is it, who the hell cares? Because does it really matter? Really, when you ask somebody, the question, just while we were talking, I mean, you did spring something. I just did a quick Google while you were yakking on about something else. Can I share my screen?
Please go. Yeah.
Let me see if I can find. Yeah. Let me share a window. Let me see if I can do this. Not this window. I don't know how to do this, Ian.
By the way, I think we missed the trick not selling those mugs at the CG swag store for.
We probably should have done, shouldn't we? All right. Let me go full screen on this. Let me see if I can do this. I need to get back to my other window here, my live restream. Okay, I'm going to try and share something which is not that screen. Oh my goodness me, how do I do this? In fact, well, I'm going to send you the link, Ian, and maybe you can send it up, but because I won't get distracted.
Give us the idea.
So the idea, what I want to say is that we see the scale every day. In fact, Seth Meyers also pointed out something which is quite useful, right? It's like we see this thing the whole time. As consumers, we know the language of. We understand the language of this, don't we?
Yeah.
We see this thing. So I don't think anybody actually reads the words, whether whatever the question is.
Oh, that's interesting.
Who the hell cares? They just see it. And they just, these days we're trained as consumers or as people to do this. I've just slacked you the link there. See if you can put this up. So we see a scale, we fill it in. We understand that on the right-hand side is good and on the left-hand side is bad. By the way, this is to do with the fact that the left-hand side is normally associated with evilness. Did you know that? And the right-hand side is associated with good.
Huh.
The word sinister from Latin comes from left-handedness. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. My wife is left-handed, actually, so she's been bearing that burden her whole life. Yeah.
My son and my dad are also left-handed, so we also have that stuff. You can't share it either, can you?
Yeah, no.
All right, never mind. I'll tell you what it is. The idea is that they're word shapes. Okay, we don't read. As you get better at reading, you don't read it individual words or letters. You just recognize the shape and the even the shape of the word, because it's got upper and lowercase letters. We speed read this stuff. We go very quickly through it. And I think the same is when we see a Likert scale. We just go, oh, it's good. I'm going to put it on the right-hand side, or it's bad here. Which, by the way, I've got stories I can tell you from the old Net Promoter days of companies who would insist that you would put it on the left-hand side. I don't know what they were thinking about there, to be honest. You can put the link in the right-hand side, probably throw that article if you like. Yeah. But the idea was that they would get a truer result if you had put things on the left. No, you just probably got a lower net promoter score. Just confuse people. Good is always on the right people. Just remember that, all right? And also, I don't think it matters what words you put before the score. You just get people to hit it. And in the end, I also think whether or not you use customer effort score, CSAT, or NPS, it doesn't matter as long as you are consistent. You just ask the same question the whole time. Now, I can go into some detail. If you've got a very much of a transaction-based system, yeah, you might say we can use CSAT or CES on a particular transaction part. Nothing wrong with that. Go for it. I fully support you to doing this, by the way. And but if you want to talk about a relationship, and that's what I particularly care about in B2B, talk about, would you recommend it to somebody? But then dig into it. Really, don't just take the score as an answer. Really follow it up with what made you do that? What was behind that? Tell me more about it. Be curious. So I think that's really where I stand on this. And I've done lots of work in my life about trying to correlate net promoter and CSAT, and if you have both on the same scale, you pretty much always get the same answer. There's very strong correlation. So no point in asking both questions.
Well, going back to the customer effort score in B2B too, like I think these metrics have their place, but for sure, customer effort score in my head sits squarely in B2C, because I'm just thinking like relationship wise, like you're building relationships in B2B, you're deepening relationships. Like, when have you ever heard the advice like, hey, what would be really great for your relationship? Try less, like reduce the effort you have put into that relationship and it's going to get better. Like, I get the concept of the metric, but it just doesn't seem very
well. Counter argument.
Yeah,
quite a lot of B2B is also adopting e-commerce.
sure.
And it loosens the definition of B2B anyway, because at the smaller end there's very little difference between consumers. But if you're continually ordering some stuff, having a one-click way of doing some stuff is actually really good.
Yes.
Plenty of stuff that you and I buy for the business, it's quite good. You put it on a credit card and do that stuff. It's B2B. But however, the difference is it's not not a long-term relationship. It's not in the millions of dollars, is it? So so it's horses for courses, I would say.
Yeah.
But look, before I leave this, all right, okay, just one other thing I really feel strongly about, right? I hate averages.
Go on. Tell me why.
The average is the bane of human society.
Whoa, let's go. All right.
And but let me tell you why. Because averages mask everything, because if you know anything about math, even a little bit about this, that you can skew it. If you have 100 results, they might all be clustered down this end. But if all the big pictures here, but going down, it masks it. So by the way, if you, instead of using average, median is better. Go look it up. But average, which is normally what comes out of a CSAT survey. Would you agree?
I would agree. Yep.
And here's how it goes. You have the average score for this sector, 7.1.
Yep.
The average score for this sector, 7.7 or something like 7.8, right?
Mm-hmm.
For most people, because most people aren't really good at, thinking about decimal points and that sort of stuff. It's a 7. They're both 7s, right? But there's a 10% difference between the two. With error, it could be even more. That's why it's so rubbish to do this. And in a way, this is the crude beauty or the ugly artfulness of the Net Promoter Score, which takes this net approach. You take all of the promoters and all the detractors, and then you get this widely fluctuating score. There's a big difference. For example, if you had that 7.1 to a 7.8, would be something like NPS 43 to 65. It could be something like that, which is a huge difference in net promoter terms, right? One is world-class and the other's not. And it's completely masked if you tell people, the average moved up a little bit. People are blind. They don't care about that. What I love about the Net Promoter Score is, and I've done this many times, is you can explain to people all up and down the company, from the bosses to the shop floor, you've got this many promoters and this many detractors. You want more promoters. You want more people that love your stuff. And people get it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's that beautiful simplicity about this that I still think is why the net promoter is a really great stat, to a really great metric to use.
I think that's the whole analogy of like explaining it to your 6-year-old. Like, could you explain customer effort score or CSAT with all of its complexity to a 6-year-old? But NPS, you can just literally say, 10 people love you, 4 people are not so in love with you. Maybe you can do better. And it's at the end of the day, it's a number, which is very easy to understand. Same thing with like explaining it to a board. Try explaining your massive customer success health score with like 15 different variables to a board. Like, it's not going to work. And I think that's why the NPS has had such a long-term success rate, because it's simple, it's straightforward, it's not based off of averages. All of these reasons and above, I think, are why NPS is king still to this day.
I think you've just hit on something, Ian. You know what you said? Explain it. What did you say? Explain it to a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
There's like dumbing it down to explain to a 6-year-old, and then there's dumbing it down a bit more to explain it to your board.
I'll make sure to.
We've been there, right? We have been there. And if the board are listening to this, I love you guys. And it's important that we get the message simplified. It's a really good challenge to do. Yeah, it's true. Really make it simple.
Absolutely. Well, on that bombshell, shall we wrap this, episode 3 up here?
I guess so. But I tell you what I have got. If you want to pursue this further, I've got some really interesting stuff to maybe do for next week with some work that I've been doing with the team here. So how long did I say I've been doing Net Promoter for? Some years, 18 years or something like that. I'm still finding interesting ways of thinking about how it links to business. And I'd love to share that with you on a future episode if you've got to, and stuff that I've maybe it's doing it for so long that you get down to some really good correlations. Would you be interested in that?
Are you talking about an exclusive, first publicly seen data set that you can share with the audience? Yeah, I think I'd be interested in that.
That is okay. That's no, I'm
not too far. Let's just talk about.
That's all right.
Come on, let's get an exclusive going here, Adam.
Let me think about that, and let me get back to you. But I do have some really interesting stuff, so I will try and work on that and do that. Ian, is there anything else I can help with today?
No, thank you for joining. It's been fantastic. As always, you guys can sign up for the newsletter at customergauge.com/blog, and join us every Thursday for lives. We're usually live 10 to 11 Eastern time, 4 to 5 CET. Catch you next week, same time, same place. Thank you all for tuning in.
Ian, but before I go, based on my energy level, how would you recommend me to a friend or a colleague?
I'm going Spinal Tap on this one. It's an 11 today.
Yes!
Nicely done. Nicely done.